Jim, the
Great.
floor is yours.
Thanks, Yossi. And I think you also, after you start recording, maybe you can give me host permission so I can share one slide. That would be great.
Oh, I don't know why this is doing that. Can you
Thanks,
not share?
everyone. No, it says, oh, wait, now I can do it. Yes, indeed. Okay, very good. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, sure can.
So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. And this is just a one slide provocation. And I really want to take, as little time as I can. I think if I haven't put this, I'm pretty sure I've put this slide on my SlideShare. So slideshare.net/Spohrer, you can download it. And this is just thinking a little bit about how COVID-19 will affect the need for and use of robots in the service world with, a world with less physical contact. And the three scenarios I've put here, I'd just like to briefly describe each of the three scenarios. And then let's get into a discussion. Maybe we can go round robin about what do you think is most probable to happen and what do you think is most desirable to happen. And I should mention I did give the similar provocation, I think, on one other Gotham who visited us at one of our ISSIP Discovery Summits and presented. He runs a value creation conference, I guess a couple times a year. He invited me to lead a breakout group with these topics. And if you do download the presentation, these links are hot. So let's start with, robots are going to take away certain jobs. So if you click on this link, you go out to this article, which is about the 3 best in-store robots and why they work. And I think maybe you've all experienced one of these robots. I know I have in a couple of retail establishments, especially. There's a place I go for lunch when I used to go up to San Francisco where basically, I can't remember the name of the restaurant, but basically robots make your food. You order a salad, you get your food. There's like these little boxes on a wall and your number shows up on the wall and you just open it up and there's your salad. And it's pretty neat. And in some of the big box stores like Lowe's, I'm looking for something and, I can't find a person, but I see one of it used to be kiosks. Now there's little robots moving around. That's another example of robots coming to retail. And some people are worried that this is going to take away jobs. So the first thought is that robots in the service world may take away some jobs. I think I've only checked into one hotel where there was a robot for the check-in. Usually they just have kiosks. That's been around for quite a while, but some are actually having robots. Some are based on theme just because it's more fun to talk to a robot. Others are a little bit more practical. The robot's like a cart that you can put your luggage on and it will take you to the elevator and up to your room. So robots are starting to appear. That's the first possibility. They're taking away jobs. But others are talking about robots adding jobs. And one of the big ways of adding jobs is telepresence. So people can't, always be in 2 or 3 places at once, but telepresence robots can. And if they have some basic AI capability, maybe they can handle the simple interactions without a person. And then when the person they're interacting with says, hey, telepresence robot, you're not doing a very good job, is there a person there? Then you switch over to a person. I've experienced this in San Francisco as well. The San Francisco Police Department has a robot that wanders around near the Caltrain station. So one day, just for fun, I had a little extra time and I went over to the robot and started talking to it. And pretty quickly I was talking to an actual police officer who was curious about the questions I was asking the robot. So telepresence allows people to be in multiple places at once. We have telepresent robots at Almaden. So prior to the pandemic, when we were having our conferences and workshops, some IBMers who couldn't be there in person would come in through the telepresence robot. It's a useful tool for people to see who else is around. You have incidental interactions and so forth. So the second idea is that robots may actually increase the number of jobs. And if we go back to the presentation, this third one is a little bit more difficult, I think, to wrap your head around, but you know, there are more and more robots that are appearing in homes. And if you think about why do people have to go to work? I know a lot of families in Silicon Valley, you know, require 2 incomes to work here. And so 2 members of the family are going off to work. And then you ask them, so what are you spending the money on? Well, I'm spending it on childcare. I'm spending it on lawn care. I'm spending it on all these things that bringing in more meals. They're spending it on all these things that are home type services that, you know, they have their career, they bring in income, but then they spend it on things that they could do themselves. Or maybe a robot could do those things. So this link will take you out to the top 10 personal robots 2020 that are appearing in homes and the types of things that they're able to do in the home. But I fully envision, certainly by about 2040, you know, robots that do the routine maintenance around the house, cleaning, yard work, cooking, you know, even some aspects of pet care and daycare may be handled by robots by about 2040. Some think it'll be as early as 2030. Robots are appearing in home. So let me stop there. I've taken, I think, about 10 minutes of the time, which is just exactly how much I wanted to take. And just go around and get other people's thoughts about robots in the service world. Are there other options that I haven't considered? What do you think is most probable to happen? What is most desirable? And since I see Steve Kwan right at the top of my screen, Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at your example of daycare. My son and daughter-in-law both work from home now. They can't, where he works at Apple, he can't go. He's 5 minutes from campus, he can't go. Yep. But so now I'm actually, my wife and I are providing daycare for our 5.5-month-old grandson, because we can't, with COVID-19, we can't go out and hire a new nanny. We don't know where that person has been or connected with his or her community. We don't know that. We are not going to send a baby to a professional, you know, high volume daycare either. So we are doing that. So, but unfortunately, we don't think that this could be replaced by robots. Yeah. I think that was one. But on the other hand, my empathy is with the people who are doing some of the jobs that you talk about, like gardening, you know, household and so on. And replacing those people is going to cause a lot of social problems. Even today, because of COVID-19, a lot of those people cannot work because they are not allowed to do certain things. So my empathy is with those, and I don't have an answer for that, even though some of the robots can do that.
What about the telepresence capability? So I've got my robot doing that stuff, but there's this special Spanish dish or Japanese dish, or there's a special plant that needs special care and my robot can't do it. And the expert could beam in telepresence. And help guide my robot.
Telepresence in healthcare, I use it with my doctor. That is definitely true. There are other cases. And you also mentioned the robot, the police robot, is very similar to a chatbot that I use with interacting with some company. And in 5 minutes, they have to kick me to the human being, but at least that 5 minutes is a good triage of what my problems are and send me to the right people. Thank you.
So Jim, this is PK. Well, thanks. Thanks for, like you said, getting us to think. I guess here's my sort of pessimistic side of the take. That when you talk about the first of the categories where the job displacement or replacement. So I think you look at some very large numbers of the kind of Steve is talking about, the lower end of service jobs. And let's just take a single biggest sector, which is farming. And then you take everything else, like let's just throw in car washes and everything else, or serving. The challenge is that the people who are going to be displaced, the jobs that you're talking about, whether it's the home care, that's a lot of these are either new services or like chatbot type services that require a different skill set. So those of us in the education sector, that's what we struggle with. That can we take those people who are pretty much, I'm sure there's a term for the physicality of their jobs. But there's not a lot of cognitive component. Now you're shifting them where it's a 50-50 of the cognitive and physical. And so there's a whole generation of people who are likely to get sort of, displaced and disrupted.
Yeah, I've thought a lot about this, and I have some thought experiments I'm still doing. Some of them are pretty radical, but my belief is that a lot of the people that are doing the more, I don't know if I want to, the physical jobs, the routine jobs, I think that one part of me believes they have a lot more capability to do things like project management and other things that require social interaction. Not all of them, of course, some do, some don't. But I think, we have certain biases built in that, certain people in certain job roles are there only because that's the limit of their capability. And I kind of resist that. I think that maybe they can't do well in college and get a degree because, whatever reason, nobody in their family ever did that. They have pressures that make them need to work. They need an income. I think there's a lot of biases built into society around this. And I think most people have more capability than we give them credit for. That's my bias, I guess. I think if we could restructure, let's take the military as an example. I remember my father-in-law was in the military during World War II, and he said, we had people who'd been to college. We had people like me who hadn't been to college, came right off the farm. We were all mixed together. We all had to learn what to do. We all could, do it. And it created a very egalitarian view. And then when people got back to, quote unquote, after the war, some people became, went into their more aristocratic type lifestyle. Others went into their more day-to-day mundane lifestyle. But those relationships that were connected people, were something real. So I think if we had not a national year of service, but if we had kind of like a UBI that allowed people for the first 10 years of their career to have jobs and be working under some sort of UBI program where they're learning about project management, they're learning about all of these things in a much more low pressure way than, I've got to get this credit so I can get this job. If society would reorient to providing a better on-ramp for people, I think we would discover there's a lot more capability in the population. And then when they actually go out and get jobs, it would be much more egalitarian society. But maybe I'm too idealistic, and I think robots will actually help us get to that egalitarian society. But anyway, PK, long answer to your.
Yeah, no, I agree. The only thing I want to say is that this requires policy intervention on part of social sector, governmental sector to make that transition smooth. But I agree with you that I don't doubt their capability. It's just the opportunity question.
Exactly.
I think, Jim, this is something else just to add to that. I think the other way that I would think about this is having, whether it's telepresence robots or even the telemedicine example, what it really can also allow people to do is provide a better quality of service, right? If I take telemedicine as an example, today you have to get in line, get for your physician, appointments aren't always available, sometimes they're a little bit further out. And that's, if you think about that at a global scale, with telemedicine now, you can engage with your physician or physician assistant at a much higher level of frequency. therefore ultimately hopefully providing better care and better outcomes. So I don't think about it as it'll replace a job as much as it will improve the quality of care, which ultimately leads to better outcomes and therefore hopefully also a lower cost of healthcare, right? So there's other societal benefits that can stem from this far beyond a potential risk to jobs.
Right.
Let me throw a different perspective with the social interaction issues that are going on now. It may be that we come to depend on robots as the ultimate equalitarian element of an interaction. Instead of having an employee serve a customer, having a robot serve a customer may be a great way to try to avoid potential conflict and lawsuits. Now, instead of being able to claim that a person said something, a robot would be a more comfortable type of interaction for a lot of people, and perhaps businesses would feel that they could be more defensive on defense less often by having less people interacting with other people. Okay, that was just another way of thinking about it. It's because social interactions are becoming an extremely difficult area to manage, because there's so many sensitivities and so many ways that people find to be put upon by other people, that the robots may be the only way we can accommodate the needs for service. Okay, that's what I've said.
Yeah, I'd like to add to this. I think that the answer to me depends really on which area are we talking about, application of robots in which areas. I can see even today with the COVID-19, if you had robots who could do certain things that, because of physical distancing, we humans cannot do. I wonder if that would, well, today probably wouldn't lead to losing jobs because the robots wouldn't be as sophisticated. But on the healthcare side, that's an area that I often think about, because I have a mother who's under care, and I'm sure a lot of you would relate to this. So she has people, she lives at home, she's close to 90, and she's immobile. And there are caretakers that are really more social caretakers for her. If we took them away, she would die, not because, they do all the cleaning and stuff. In fact, they don't. But it is that social element. And I wonder, here is where actually it could add jobs. I wonder each one of those who take care of my mom could have a robot that would do the mechanical stuff to service someone like my mom. And then they would provide that social element that, I would consider it a higher order human capability.
Yeah, Yasi, we have already seen some of those in Japan. Mm-hmm. They are robots designed to interact with elderly who are staying at home or even in a group environment. So that's already out there in industry, yeah.
But my point is, I don't think, at least this may be my lack of imagination, I don't think robots alone could really address that social element.
So this is where I think there could be a very good service science type initiative or project. Maybe we should talk to Alex and do like smart service system part 2. Because if you've got like these social workers coming in to visit your mom, there's certain things they do. They go in, they visit your mom. It's a human-to-human interaction. It's great. And then there's also certain days where their telepresence robot is there. The telepresence robot can't do all of the things that the person can do, can't do all the social interactions. But the telepresence robot, you can gather more data. And what is service science but just using that data to continually improve the service, as PK, as Sunil and PK suggested. So I think this is where we get into a very nice service science mode where we're learning how to provide better service more productively, and there is this kind of symbiosis between what a person can do, you know, as a person, and what a person can do as a telepresence robot, augmented in some sense.
So this is Haluk. I have also a quick comment. Sorry, I didn't mean, I think I cut someone. I apologize. It happens in Zoom, right? So quick comment I have. You know, there's no question. I think almost every large organization, they will try to implement robots or the smart technologies to increase productivity and reduce the cost. There's no question. But on the other side, one of my students told me asked me this a couple months ago, they said, Dr. Haluk, if let's say I am collaborating with my robot at work and increasing my productivity, do you really think I'm gonna have some spare time so I can do more walking outside, doing some sports, so that will more indirectly impact my creativity and innovation? Or will I get more work to do? So I mean, that's the interesting situation, because I'm also trying to think from the old days. If you all remember, for many years, companies wanted to implement knowledge management systems internally to increase productivity, but because of organizations or senior executives didn't think about the incentives or motivation for individuals to adopt these solutions, because of that, most people said, hey, I have a job security issue. I'm not going to use these systems. Like adoption failed. Really, nobody wants to use knowledge management systems because of people worried about losing their jobs. So I think motivation and incentive will be very big. Individual will have I think that will have a big impact to adoption.
Great,
So,
thanks for this.
Yeah, Haluk, this is Larry. Just to address that last one, I followed KM for quite a while. And what they're trying to do now is embed it in the process and capture and gather what will later turn into knowledge, which will be data and then content, and then somebody's going to ask a question, so it'll be knowledge. Without that sort of voluntary, I have to offload my brain into the system, or my way of doing this into the system. It's catching it up there in the background. So that's, you're not seeing KM at the forefront, it's woven into the background. But something else I wanted to comment about this, I think there are hybrids to all of these. I think that people are not all one type of person who is going to work at home or work in the office. I think there are people who will take a blend of that. Some people will much more prefer working in an office and some of the social things that go on there. Other people will prefer to work at home and get some more done, and then have time to participate in their kids' education, or you know, whatever else that they have on their agenda. And then when you talk about, like, in medicine, some of the first robots that were being used in emergency rooms, they started putting screens on so that the physician or nurse or specialist of some sort, usually a physician, if the robot was coming up to the person's bed, they would actually see the person's face and they'd be able to interact that way. While at the same time, the robot portion can be doing other things, like checking measurements and you know, checking some of the data from the screens and other kinds of things, and do that, which then enables the physician to have much more interactive time with more people. So I think that there are some hybrid things here. It's not going to be an either or, either with the people, with the robot, or the way that they're going to use. It's not going to be binary. It's going to be this continuum. Your thoughts, Jim? Anybody?
Yeah, I totally agree. We're much more diverse than unidimensional beings. And we should just, since we're out of time, I think we're very close to end of time, let's complete the round robin. Wojciech, do you have a comment? Nope. What about Christine?
Yeah, I was thinking about another area which I haven't mentioned, actually, education. We saw in the COVID crisis that many, families couldn't give the support to, parents couldn't give the support to children. So I think once we have these kind of hybrid type of educational models, which I think will be the future, I think that would give a lot of opportunity to young people, to kids who are in education, if their parents cannot deliver, so robots could really do a job here and, add a lot of value. So I don't know how you see that, but I haven't heard you talking about it, but I think there is a huge potential for that. And we see the gap where many parents were unable to deliver basically, what kids needed, and teachers as well. So
yeah, I would
what's your take on that?
Yeah, I love my YouTubes at night when I want to learn some far field thing. I just look it up. I had to, when we couldn't buy yeast, I looked up on YouTube how do you get yeast, and I tried and I finally got it. But I would have loved to have a telepresence robot where I could have just said, somebody that really knows how to do this, just watch me do it and give me some feedback. And somebody could have beamed into my robot and told me how to do it. Oh, Jim, you didn't sterilize a jar enough, or whatever it was. So I think education, lifelong learning can be totally revolutionized when we have our companion robot that is helping us do routine tasks. I see Wojciech is off mute now. Did you have something, Wojciech, or maybe we can't hear you still?
Yeah, I like to say that I think that it is very important to distinguish job where social aspects are not relevant and job where social aspects are very important. So it is very different if there is a robot in a store which carries heavy parcels or something like that, but it is very different from an adult who is in bad condition, living alone in home, and needs robots to support him or her. But it is not sufficient for well-being because robots are not humans. So the social aspect is then dominating.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. And Enrique?
Yes, I was thinking that as the population ages, right, there will be fewer younger people being able to take care of the elders, and so that's going to create increasing demand for robots. Although if we allow marketplaces to drive that trend, I don't think that would be very desirable, right? So that needs to be moderated with policies for social service, like you mentioned, Jim. I don't see that happening at least in the US in the near future, and which I think it's sad, right? So it needs to be, those are kind of the two countervailing forces, right? Because the social service may reduce the needs for robots, but I think human quality will be enhanced, right? As some of these speakers I noted.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you, Enrique. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going to head to Santa Cruz and go hiking on the beach with my family. So
wow, enjoy.
I will enjoy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great. Thank you.
For organizing. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All the best.